For the battered but proud people of the Empire Stations of an insecure, scheming mountebank posing as governor, who loathes both us and himself. As liberty beckoned to enslaved peoples behind the Iron Curtain via American broadcasts after World War II, we now say, believe, rise, and join us. Welcome to Radio Free New York.
Hey guys, it's Andrew Hollister, your host of Radio Free New York. Another episode where I forgot my microphone. So today I've got a little bit of an excuse though, because I've got whatever that is that everybody else has been getting, the stuffy nose.
Oh, I see you've got a bag of some kind of OTC stuff there.
So something that we don't talk about too often is I'm always bringing new stuff into the studio. You know, Bob's always, hey, what's that? You know, whether it's a different camera to experiment with a live stream, or the latest little gadget I've got here is a stream deck to kind of like help me automate the live cast a little bit more. But today, my cool new gear is some cough drops. I've got
menthol.
Yep, I've got a box here of tissues, and I've got a water bottle here too. So if I sound like I'm gagging over here, I probably am, but
don't take it personally. It's not. It has nothing to do with you folks.
Exactly. Nothing to do with you guys. Just happens to be what happens when you're around a bunch of people and they're all sick. So
yeah, you sound like you've got a cold or something.
Yeah, some congestion, some everything, a little bit of everything. So, and it's kind of strange for me because I'm one of those people, I never get sick. Like, this is the first time I've been sick, I think, in probably like 6 years. My trade-off is I don't get sick, but I get really nasty migraines. So yeah. So it's kind of like, I'm not sure which is better or worse. I kind of think that, I don't know. Normally I don't get sick. So like I said, it's a weird thing for me to take any type of anything. Like, even like a Sudafed. I took a Sudafed the other day. I'm like, wow, when's the last time I even opened a box of Sudafed, let alone took any?
I don't do any of that stuff. No. The worst thing are those shotgun remedies, what they call shotguns. It's a combination of the decongestant, the antihistamine, and some kind of, like
painkiller.
NSAID of some sort. Those things are horrible for you, by the way. They shoot your blood pressure sky high. And look, your body produces histamine because it's trying to fight an infection. That's why it's doing that. And your body also needs to elevate your temperature for a little while it's fighting the infection, because that improves the antibody action. So when you take all that stuff, all you're doing is interfering in the natural defense mechanisms of your body.
Yeah. So last night I did the neti pot thing. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's this little thing, looks like a tea kettle. You put some saline solution there, so some distilled water, a little bit of salt, and you tip your nostril, you shoot through one, and it comes out the other, and it's supposed to flush out your nasal cavity. And it got me breathing again. So supposedly it's natural. Supposedly people use it for thousands and thousands of years. That's what the marketing says. I don't know if any of that's true, but it did help me feel better.
You get the same effect, by the way, I think, or something very similar to that. My general practitioner told me, because I'm susceptible to these sinusitis and bronchitis, because I grew up in a house where 5 packs of cigarettes were smoked every day. And I've never smoked one directly, but I've smoked quite a few indirectly, I'm sure, over the years.
Sure.
And so when you feel like you're starting to get a cold or some kind of upper respiratory thing, what you do is you go to the dollar store and you get the saline nose spray, nasal spray. It just comes in little squeeze bottles. And at the dollar store, they're $1.
Yep.
And at CVS, they're $4.39. Same stuff. It's just saline. And you just spray the hell out of your sinuses about 10 times a day every time you think of it, and just flush that baby out. And as soon as you're done treating yourself with that, after 3, 4, 5 days of use, throw it out. because it's only $1 anyway.
Yeah.
And now it's contaminated, so you don't want to stick that in your nose again.
Yeah. Yep.
And so we keep a bunch of those things in stock, and if I feel like I'm coming down with something, I just do it.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I was reading about that because I was Googling like home remedies, and some of the stuff is like really goofy, some of the stuff. But one of the things I think on like Mayo Clinic or something like that mentioned that saline spray stuff, but I haven't tried it yet. If it continues through the weekend, I might give that a try. So I'm going to touch on something real quick, just ever so quick, because I feel like we've talked Second Amendment, SAFE Act, red flag laws, and safe storage bills probably the last like 5 episodes in a row. And I bet you the guys that run the Second Amendment show are probably like, get off our material, stop it. But I do want to touch on the safe storage bill that was passed. Now, you guys might remember I was talking about the bill in Brighton, which is local to us, one of the local towns who was passing a safe storage bill. Well, I did not know that there was one running through the Assembly and the Senate at the same time. Didn't see it, didn't know it was happening. Kind of rare for something like that to slip my radar, but for whatever reason, didn't know about it. And that did pass. I don't think Cuomo signed it yet that I know of, but it did go through the Senate and the Assembly. Actually, WXXI called me for an interview about it as well, which I didn't see aired. So I don't know. Maybe they didn't like what I had to say, or maybe I just missed it. Not sure which one. But I do want to remind everybody, the question came up as to whether or not safe storage is constitutional or not. And there is actually a court case, and I'm going to pull it up for you guys. I believe it was District of Columbia versus Heller. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah, the Heller decision. That was the famous D.C. Case, because in practical terms, Washington, D.C. had made private ownership of firearms impossible.
Yeah. Yep. So DC versus Heller, here it is. This was in 2008, so about 11 years ago. And I'm just going to read to you guys what it said, that basically lawfully owned, that this law or this ban had a requirement that lawfully owned rifles and shotguns be kept unloaded and disassembled or bound by a trigger lock. The Supreme Court ruled that this violates the guarantee of the Second Amendment. And it also stated, let's see. Oh, that part doesn't matter. Okay.
Well, the case also made it essentially impossible to transport a firearm anywhere. It also made it impossible for there to be any firing ranges, and it also made it impossible for there to be any gun stores.
Yeah. And here's a summary. So it says it was a landmark case in which the Supreme Court of the United States held that the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to possess a firearm unconnected with service in a militia for traditionally lawful purposes such as self-defense within the home, and that the District of Columbia's handgun ban and requirement that lawfully owned rifles and shotguns be kept unloaded and disassembled or bound by trigger lock violates this guarantee. So there you have it right there.
After which, of course, the city of Washington proceeded to ignore it.
Did they?
Oh, yeah.
So what happened? Did somebody get arrested again, or?
Well, no. There was. I think there was maybe. I'm trying to remember now. I think there was a series of lower court decisions that amplified Heller. If there's a Second Amendment attorney listening, feel free to give us a call and tell us what happened. But I know there was trouble with Heller. It's like the old. Oh, great! We've got a judgment suitable for framing now.
Yeah, interesting.
There's a great book, by the way, by a journalist by the name of Emily Miller. It's called Emily Gets Her Gun, and it graphically describes step by step what she went through after Heller to get a gun and to own it and live in Washington, D.C. And it's very entertaining and humorous in kind of a black humor way.
Very interesting. And to that point, there was actually a guy on Facebook. I don't know if he's listening or not. I believe his name was Tony. And he missed the show where we talked about the Bright and Safe Storage and said he was one of those gun owners that supported the safe storage law, and he wanted to call in to kind of give us his side of things. So, Tony, if you are listening and you do want to call in, we're going to take a break here. But after the break, give us a call, 585-346-3000. Once again, that's 585-346-3000. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk about sin taxes. So, and I don't mean syntax like the framework of a sentence. I mean sin and taxes. So we'll be back here in a moment on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and NYS cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Avon Feed and Supply announces a new taste in local cheese. From dairies in Livingston, Genesee, and Wyoming counties, enjoy Craig's Creamery Cheese from 8 family farms made right here in Livingston County. Craig's Creamery Cheese, simply made with all natural ingredients. Choose your favorite variety exclusively in our area at Avon Feed and Supply. Bottom of the hill, West Main Street in the village of Avon. MasterCard, Visa, and Discover cards always welcome.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your site. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row.
Yep. I have to remix it, though. He wants different music. Coming back.
Or isn't achieving your goals? Give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York on the WYSL stations.
All right, everybody. Welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and I am here with a cold, I think, is probably what I've got. I was just telling Bob how for weeks my family, my wife, everybody around me, people in the office have been sick, and I cruised through the whole thing. And I don't know, maybe I missed my vitamin C like one of the days or something like that. And so here I am, stuffy and scratchy throat and all of that.
You sound fine.
Yeah, everybody says that I don't look or sound sick, so that's good. I'm playing it well, I guess.
I did know when you first came in the studio, and we're saying our hellos. You're setting up your gear there. You seemed a little bit more subdued than you normally are.
Yeah, I'm definitely moving significantly slower. My my problem-solving skills have degraded a little bit,
Got that fog going on. What did you say?
Yeah. And I was like, man, that could make for a really interesting radio show today if I'm not quick on my feet like I normally am. But
it's like the old stunt that we used to do when it was like New Year's Eve. Or maybe St. Patrick's Day. Yeah. And that's where the disc jockey gets drunk
Oh, there you go.
On the air.
Sure.
So every 15 minutes, he takes a shot of whiskey or whatever.
Okay.
And then you have a cop in the studio, and he administers a breathalyzer and tells you
Interesting.
how blotto you are.
Interesting.
And after a while, the jock just is like, so what is this? It plays the same song over and over and over again.
There you go. Yeah, it sounds like that could be fun. Maybe, it sounds like an interesting time. I want to welcome everybody who's listening in on live stream right now. I see some names popping up in here. And just so you guys know, the live streaming service doesn't tell me everybody who's in. So if I don't welcome you to the live stream, it's not because I don't like you. It's just I can't see your name. So we've got Dan, Daniel, Donna, and Michael in here. Looks like we've got Albert in on YouTube. Looks like probably a few people on Twitter as well. So thank you guys for joining us. And of course, any of you guys listening on the radio waves, thank you for tuning in as well. We didn't get a call from Tony, so I'm guessing Tony probably isn't listening. But Tony wanted to kind of call in and tell us his thoughts on why he thought the safe storage laws were good. I'm disagreeing with him, but I would love to hear Tony's side of the story if you get a chance. So Tony, if you want to call in, or anybody else for that matter, about anything we're talking about today, you can give us a call, 585-346-3000. That's 585-346-3000. And we're going to kind of move on to sin taxes. Now, there's a reason I'm talking about them, and we'll kind of get to that. But government tries to force people's behavior and decisions by enacting what we would call sin taxes. Sin taxes are essentially taxes on commodities or items or day-to-day things that government thinks you shouldn't do, or they want to restrict you from it. They can't make it illegal, so they just make it expensive. And in doing so, they actually create a class structure, if you will. Those that can afford these sin taxes and those who can't. And tobacco is a great example. You know, there's essentially a sin tax on tobacco.
Especially cigarettes.
Yeah, and cigarettes especially. And the interesting thing about that is even people who don't have money find a way to make it work. You know, there's definitely an addiction thing going on there. So I wanted to talk about the idea that we tax things differently, and it's essentially based on either health, morality, or just forcing behavior. So a few of the ones that I came up with, and those of you listening in the live stream or anybody who's listening on the radio, call in or comment in the live stream other things that you can think of that there's a sin tax on. So for me, it was tobacco, or like you said, cigarettes. Fuel, absolutely. There's a separate fuel tax, and they're always talking about adding a heavier carbon tax on top of that. I believe there's a tax on coal, if I recall, or maybe they're trying to make a tax on coal. That might be what it is. Then you've got things that are essentially the same thing that maybe you don't think of, though. Think of New York City's congestion pricing.
Soft drinks.
Yep, soft drinks are another. So you've got
Philadelphia's has had for some time a tax on. I think they impose it on the containers somehow, or I can't remember how the mechanics of that. But it's basically trying to discourage you from drinking soda pop because it's bad for you. Thank you, Nanny State.
Yep. Yeah, in New York City, they either banned what they do. They banned 32-ounce sodas, or did they tax them additional? I forget what it was.
I think they banned them.
They banned them.
And I think there's also a tax. I would have to check that if there's a New York soda tax. But it's these things are ridiculous. This is not an appropriate use of taxation to try to control human behavior.
Yeah. And the most recent one that I'm aware of is the ammo tax that they're trying to push through, a 50% tax on ammunition.
Just 50%.
Yeah, that's all. You know, so to me, this creates what I would call an unfair playing field for product services, and it shouldn't be taxed. You know, there should be no special taxes at all. If we look at things that we do in life, things that we purchase, and I'll go a step further and say there are things that are not taxed that maybe they should. And I'm talking specifically to sales tax here, because I'll talk later about how we should get rid of property tax or income tax or those sort of things. But I'm talking about sales tax, which I think is the only tax that was originally included in the Constitution, if I recall properly with my cold, stuffy head here. Sales tax was meant to be the only tax in this nation. And it wasn't meant to be a special additional tax here, some additional tax there. It was meant to just be the same across the board. Now, every state, they adjust what their sales tax is. In New York State, we actually have a 4% sales tax, and then the counties are allowed to add an additional I think it's up to 4.5% sales tax. That's where you get like Monroe County, our tax rate, sales tax rate is 8.5%. 4% is a state tax, 4% is the county tax. I think Ontario County is 8.25% or 8.5% total. That's where all that comes from. But what I'm saying here is government shouldn't be picking winners and losers. Government shouldn't be using taxation as a form of control. If we're going to have a tax and we're going to have a sales tax, that sales tax needs to be equally applied. No special treatment either way. No additional tax, no tax exempt. Just apply it equally and evenly. That'll make things pretty easy to figure out and understand, I think. And so I talk about all of this, and I talk about government using these taxes. Really what we're talking about is government's actually using these taxes as punishment. When you really come down to it, government's saying, we are going to financially punish you for doing these things, whether it's smoking a cigarette, whether it's purchasing fuel, whether it's this ammo tax that they're going to try to implement, any of these things. And I'm sure you guys could come up with many others that are used. It's government's way of punishing you. And if you have enough money to afford it, you essentially just pay the punishment and keep on with life.
It's like buying an indulgence from the church in the Middle Ages.
Yep. So that brings me to income tax. If we are now using tax to punish people for their actions, why are we taxing people for working? Why are we taxing them for owning property? We are essentially saying tax is a punishment. Now we're punishing people for working. We're punishing people for owning property. And some of you know I was in Europe about 3 months ago now. And when we were talking with our friends over there about our taxes and how they work, they said, totally unprompted, based on their own assessment of the situation, it sounds like your government punishes you for working.
That's right.
And here we are. So we literally have a system where we're using taxation as punishment to direct human behavior, yet we're taxing income, and we're very heavily in New York State taxing property. So what does that mean? We're discouraging people from working. We're discouraging people from owning property. That's how it looks to me. And I tell you what, that's how people feel, because they're leaving our state to go somewhere else. There's already 7 states that have no income tax. And I don't think there's a single state that has property tax as high as ours. I think we are the highest. If anybody has more, it's probably only one, maybe California.
Toss up between us and Connecticut, I think.
Connecticut, maybe.
Actually, California's is somewhat lower than ours.
Is it? Okay, there you go. So even California, is less property tax than us. So that's the discussion I wanted to have with you guys. And I've got some people commenting in here too, so I'll read the comments in a second. But I want to talk with you guys about the fact that first and foremost, using taxes is a form of punishment, and using taxes to control behavior is absolutely wrong. Our government should not be doing it whatsoever. The idea of creating unfair playing fields across services and products by taxing some things specially, other things things not at all, and then some things at the regular rate is also totally wrong. Everything should just be equally applied. If we're going to do a sales tax, that should be it. And I would say government goes further than that, because they don't just use tax. They also use regulations, and they use this other thing that's code word for tax, but they don't want to call it a tax. It's a fee. It's an application fee, a change request fee, a permit fee. You know, all of these things are really just a tax on people. And they use that same thing to control behavior. And don't take this as, I get that certain things the government does cost money. Actually, everything the government does costs money. The problem is they're trying to control our behavior by essentially making things more expensive. So, guys, we're going to take a break, and we will be back in a moment on Radio Free New York.
You're listening to the voice of liberty. WYSL. AM 1040 Avon, Rochester, FM 92.1 Rochester, FM 95.5 Spencerport, and WYSL1040.com everywhere.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your site. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
We'll treat you like family at Mark's Pizzeria. We'll treat you like family at Mark's Pizzeria. Great pizza, fresh and good. Simply the best in your neighborhood. Come in, we'll get to know you. We'll call you by name. We can bring it to you any time of the day. Mark's Pizzeria. We'll treat you like family. Mark's Pizzeria.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and NYS cybersecurity compliance.
Coming back.
Work safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
Sorry, you're on.
All right, guys, welcome back to Radio Free New York. I'm your host, Andrew Hollister, and I've got Bob Savage here in the studio with me.
Ahoy, mateys.
Now, I'm reading through all the Facebook comments. There's a whole bunch of stuff in here, and there's some on YouTube as well. Welcome a whole bunch of you to the show. Looks like Joey, Nathan, my little sister's in here. Awesome. James, Joey, Sarah, Nathan, Mike, Brian, and a whole bunch of other people. So thank you guys so much for joining in. I got to tell you guys something. online, we're doing really good. We're doing really good online. During the campaign, the engagement on the Facebook page was way lower than the last 2 months have been. So I want to say in the height of the campaign, the Facebook page was getting, the reach was maybe between 50 and 70,000 a month. Last week, we broke 440,000.
That's a little bit better.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. So it's going great. So I want to thank you guys. Those of you who might be listening on the radio, if you want to see the stuff I post all week long, stuff I'm doing outside of the radio, just search Andrew C. Hollister. And just click like on that Facebook page, and you'll see some of the goofy memes I post, but also a lot of educational stuff. You know, things that are happening throughout the week, such as bills that are coming through, things that are happening, mostly New York State. Every once in a while, another state gets this little bug, and they decide they want to stomp on liberty in their state too. So I'll post that as well. But for the most part, it's New York doing most of the garbage out there. So if you're looking for something like that, Andrew C. Hollister on Facebook, like the page. We seem to be getting a lot of attention there.
It's a happy thing. The radio also helps to drive people to the sites.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's just a great thing. Being able to talk to you guys twice a week here live on the radio, giving you guys a chance to call in with questions. It's a great thing.
People stumble across you on the radio dial. And, wait, what's this? What's he talking about?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I actually got a request. I meant to pass this along to you. I got a request, I think it was a week and a half ago. Somebody wants you on every day.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the same person that's emailing me or not, but yes, I've gotten that request. Well, actually, somebody asked me to do a 3 or a 4 hour show, all in one shot, like a long form, and my vocal cords just would not be able to do that. I just couldn't, unless we had some really lengthy breaks. And who knows, maybe this continues to grow and expand, and maybe someday I do an everyday show. That would be pretty cool. So if that's something you guys want, definitely I need your support to make that happen. So let me know and help me make that happen. But we're going to kind of roll a little bit more into taxes here. And I see James actually sent a comment in here asking what my thoughts are on the fair tax. And James, that's a phenomenal question. I don't know much about it. So maybe that'll be Monday's radio show. I'm looking at their website right now. Looks like they have videos and a webinar and a whole bunch of stuff. So it shouldn't be too hard for me to get educated on what the fair tax is. And I don't know if it was you or somebody else, but somebody else posted that as a comment maybe a week ago asking about the fair tax. And, well, I got sick, so I didn't have the time to look it up. But now that you've asked here on the radio show, I am going to have to do some research, figure out what the fair tax is. Maybe I'll spend some time on that this weekend and come back to you on Monday with that.
Oversimplify, what you do is you replace the tax code, all federal income taxes, payroll taxes, gift taxes, and estate taxes with a single broad national consumption tax.
So by consumption tax, is that kind of like a sales tax or a VAT tax?
Let's see, a tax on retail sales. It would apply a tax once at the purchase on all new goods and services for personal consumption.
Interesting. So I'm open to that. I've actually, at face value, at that really brief explanation, I actually talked about this maybe a few radio shows ago, that I think if there was a federal sales tax, that we could do away with.
But this is only on new stuff. So, if you buy a used car, you don't pay tax on it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I guess I'll have to take a look and see how those numbers kind of like bowed out and what that would look like. But anything that makes taxes simpler, eliminates things like income tax, and I'm for that type of stuff.
Well, the income
tax,
income tax is so non-functional because you've got so many carve-outs. You've got 90,000, 100,000 pages of carve-outs to take care of this situation and to kiss up to that donor and this special interest group and that victim group. That the whole thing becomes impossible. Most people can't do taxes by themselves anymore.
Yeah, no, it's totally true. I liken it to this: you go to a restaurant and you have dinner, and when you're done with the dinner, you're presented with a bill that you cannot read. You then have to pick up the phone. You have to call somebody who has a degree in accounting. They have to come over, calculate out your bill for you. You have to pay the guy to figure out what your bill is, and you still got to pay the bill. And then if somebody screwed up, either you or the accountant, you end up paying double or triple with interest and fines and everything just to go to dinner. It's ridiculous. Taxes are the only thing in society that we allow to operate this way. So that's it. Yeah, it's goofy. It's ridiculous. And long story short, I will check out the fair tax, and we will more than likely talk about it on Monday or Friday next week. And speaking of taxes and speaking of income taxes, I'm doing my taxes today, actually, right after the show.
And you're doing them yourself?
No. No. My tax return is extremely complicated because of my business. I wouldn't even know how to do an S-corp filing or anything like that. I think my tax return last year was over 89 pages long. I mean, it was pretty immense.
K1s in there.
Yeah.
Amortization, depreciation. It's nuts. And even when it's in front of you, you don't know what it says.
Yeah,
you're looking at it, it's like
I have no idea.
Might just well be Mesopotamian.
Yep. And my CPA, this. I'm like, I pay you to know all this, and they're awesome. I was trying to get them on the show so that they could explain some of the tax stuff, but they're just so swamped. So I am looking that this is something you guys could help me out with. Those who are listening to the show right now, I am looking for a CPA or a tax preparer to come on the show to just for one show to explain some of the tax changes that occurred, because there are so many people with so many questions. I know just this little tiny amount, and I think that would be great value for all of you guys to be able to ask some of those questions and understand some changes to your filings that you might want to make this year. The latest article I saw actually says that tax returns are up now instead of down. I don't know how true.
You mean the refunds?
Yeah, the refunds. Yeah. The refunds now are averaging this month $100 more than the average last year.
Well, see, now that's a sweet deal, because all last year you paid less in taxes anyway.
Yeah.
And now if you're getting a bigger refund.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how that pans out at the end when they average out everything, where it really falls. But yeah, so that I saw was very interesting. What I do want to do is take a couple minutes to tell you guys why it's so awful to get a tax return. You should never get a return, a refund. I think a refund is probably the proper term. A return, I guess, is it's really a refund. You've overpaid in your taxes. What that means is you've given the government an interest-free loan. And if you're listening to the show, if you're listening to me either on the airwaves or on the internet, chances are you think government doesn't spend your money very well. Because if you did think the government was doing a good job, you probably wouldn't care much about what I have to say, just, realistically. So I looked, and I wanted to give you guys a couple numbers here. So the average tax return for a New Yorker, according to Business Insider, is over $3,000. That's the average refund, which means on average, the average New Yorker is paying $250 a month extra to the government, letting them sit there, letting them hold it at no interest whatsoever. Now, I want to share with you guys maybe some finance tips, I guess. The idea that you're paying an extra $250 a month to the government, and then you just get it back at the end of the year. I bet you every single person who's listening right now thinks, man, I could use an extra $250 a month. You know, what could you do with an extra $250 a month? Probably a whole lot. That could be a large chunk of your mortgage payment. It could be car payment, maybe your car insurance, whatever it is. $250 a month is a lot of money. But not just that. Since the interest rates have risen over the last year, you can now get a savings account that has an interest of between 2% and 2.4%.
When did that happen? Holy moly!
Yeah,
that's extravagant.
Yeah, no, it's great actually. I've got a little image here. Let me see if I can pull it up because I took a screenshot of the latest, the top 4, I think it was, bank accounts that have savings. Let me pull that up for you guys real quick. So BVA Compass, BBVA Compass. I've never even heard of them before. I'm not sure what bank they are. I'm going to throw it up here on the screen for you guys too. Give me 1 second here. But their interest rate is almost 2.4% right now. Or no, it is 2.4%. It's a money market account. And guess how much money you got to put in there to get that interest rate?
10 grand?
Oh, guess again. I'm
50 grand.
Time here so I can throw it on the screen. No.
Oh, we're stalling.
Oh, yeah, I'm stalling.
100 grand.
What I'm doing here. All right, here we go. $25.
Wow.
25
no kidding.
bucks, and you get 2.4% APR, that's really good. That's better than what mine is. Last month mine was in the top here. CIBC 2.39%.
Not bad.
You have to put $1 in the account. And Goldman Sachs 2.25%. Also put $1 in the account. So that's really good. So maybe you put that $250 in a savings account and make some interest. We're going to talk a little bit more about this when we come back here from the break on Radio Free New York.
Your business relies on computers and technology to operate. Slow, unreliable networks and servers can cause unplanned downtime and affect your bottom line. The experts at Simple Tech Innovations are here to help. Their preventative maintenance program ensures that your computers and network are kept up to date and monitored for any issues, keeping your business running smoothly. They also help clients achieve HIPAA, PCI, and NYS cybersecurity compliance to keep your network safe and secure. Whatever your business IT needs are, Simple Tech Innovation should be your first call. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. Call them today for a free consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182. Simple Tech Innovations.
I'm Las from Action Towing and Service. The people really make this place incredible. I feel at home. I love what I do. I love the people that I work with. The owner of the business is actively involved. He is a veteran. We have a very close relationship with all of the staff. Every employee there is known by name, and we really, really work hard on giving that home feel, or the family feel. Please give us an opportunity when your business. Come down and visit us at 275 Marketplace Drive, right off of Jefferson Road.
Why do businesses choose to move their website from Wix and Squarespace to Simple Tech Innovations? Maybe it's their excellent customer service or attention to detail. Maybe it's their ability to give a truly customized solution. Or perhaps they just like the fact that Simple Tech is a local small business that builds great relationships with its clients. Whatever the reason may be, you can rest assured knowing that the local team at Simple Tech has your best interest in mind when building or updating your site. They're hands-on and love helping customers achieve their goals. But don't take my word for it. They've won the Best in Rochester 8 years in a row and have an A+ Better Business Bureau rating. If your website doesn't match your dreams or isn't achieving your goals, give the professionals at Simple Tech Innovations a call today for a consultation at 585-200-3182. That's 585-200-3182.
Coming back, we have Shirley on the line.
Innovations.
You're listening to Radio Free New York on the WYSL stations.
We're back at Radio Free New York, and you want to go to the phones here, Andrew?
Yeah. Sounds like we got a caller on.
We should, let's see, go to line 1 and Shirley. Hi, Shirley.
Good afternoon. I'm dealing with the local communications billing, and this one in particular happens to be a cottage billing down in Pennsylvania, but it still doesn't impact much differently up here in New York State by any means. The excessive federal taxes and charges that come through on these phones, and then on top of it, you're dealing with the additional state taxes and other charges, and then you get assessed, I love this one, the local assessment when I blew my lid on our local Time Warner, well, it's, Spectre now, when it went up again, and I was informed, and I called my local community office, and they said, well, it's just look at it like this. If we don't assess it that manner, then we have to assess it through your other taxes. So what's the difference? I'm just, how can we even get any reflection for where our money goes in any benefit? Because this Pennsylvania scenario is absolutely atrocious for the service we get.
Yeah, same deal with your power bill too. I mean, try to figure that one out. It's what am I paying for the electricity? Then I got to pay a separate item for the delivery of it, and then there's all kinds of surcharges and stuff. Appreciate the call, Shirley. It is perplexing, isn't it, Andrew?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Actually, I found out a couple of years ago when I was a new homeowner that I looked at my tax bill for the first time. Which normally I just kind of let the mortgage company. That's the best thing government has going for them. When you get a mortgage and the mortgage company pays the taxes, you don't usually really take a hard look at those bills.
No, and you need to. And, it's like your health care, too. I mean, anything where the actual consumer of the product or service is removed from the payment process is not a good thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I took a look here because I realized my taxes had gone up. Now, it wasn't a significant amount. I think it was maybe like $20 or $30, something like that. But it had gone up, and I was like, well, my home wasn't assessed any differently. Nothing had changed. So I started calling the city because I could see the bill, but it wasn't clear where the increase was. So I forget if I started with the city or the county. I think it might have been the city. And they said, oh, no, the increase wasn't us. It was the county, or vice versa. Get transferred around like 7 or 8 times. Finally, I find somebody who knows and understands. And here's the thing. Even the people that work in government who are in charge of charging you these taxes, they don't know. They don't understand it either. It's a huge, huge problem. So finally, I get to the right person. And they said, oh, well, your sewage tax was higher. I said, my sewage tax? I didn't even realize I got taxed on sewage. I'm like, how do you calculate that? And how, I use the crapper more? Like, what do you mean?
Depends on how many Michael Moore movies you've seen. No, I'm just kidding.
So and they explained to me that the sewage tax is taxed per gallon of water that comes into your home. So you run a sprinkler in your house, you're paying a sewage tax on that, even though it doesn't go in the sewer. You're paying a sewage tax on any time your faucet gets turned on. You're not just paying the water bill. You're paying an additional tax on that too, because you might possibly, maybe also be using the sewer. So that was one thing that it doesn't matter where you go or what you do. You're being taxed for something. You just don't know it yet, until you see the line item on the bill. You are definitely being taxed for it. So before we took the break, I was talking about the idea that the average New Yorker gets about a $3,000 plus tax return. And that equals about $250 a month. And what can you do with that $250 a month? So first thing I said is put it into a high yield savings account. And this is something I've been doing for, I want to say about 6 months now. And I got to tell you, I've gotten more interest in the last 6 months than I have my whole life, because the average interest rate I've always had was like 0.03%. Like crazy stuff.
Oh, yeah, savings lately has been terrible.
Yeah, no, it's been absolutely awful. So I came across a few months ago a Barclays savings account that was online, and the interest rate at the time was 1.9%. Which was still more than I had ever seen. So I started putting as much of my paycheck as I could afford into this account. I moved all my savings out of my measly 0.03% savings account, moved it over here. The crazy thing about this account was it wasn't just 1.9% APR. It was also compounded daily. So, every day that money's in that account.
It's a nice deal.
Yeah, no, it was great. So I wanted to walk down this path with you guys of if you instead chose for a year to drop that $250 a month instead of in the government's pocket, for them to just give it back to you. If you took that money and put it into a savings account, what would that look like? Now, my Barclay account has since gone up, which is also awesome. They keep increasing my savings percentage. So now I'm at 2.2%, which is less than those top four. So that one bank was 2.4%, the other was 2.39, and another was 2.25. I just put 2.2% in here for you guys. And if you put $3,000 in the bank, within a year, you would get 66.73% or $66.73 in interest generated. So $66 that you don't have today. Instead, what you have is $3,000. Now that doesn't sound like a lot to you guys. Maybe $66 isn't a big deal, but don't forget, you still have that $3,000 too. Now, I want to go down the path with you guys of what if you did this every single year? What if you didn't do it just this year? What if you did this every single year? And let's say you did this every single year for the next 5 years. What would that look like? Well, the first year, you would end up with your $66, right? But then year after year, if you kept putting that $3,000 at $250 bucks per month in your bank account, after 5 years, you would have over $19,000. $19,000. Over $1,200 of that would be interest. $1,200 in interest in 5 years. I mean, where can you get a deal like that? That's
you don't have
awesome.
to do anything to earn the $1,200. Just leave the money there.
Just leave the money
pretend
there.
Like it's you forgot about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But don't forget about it.
Yeah, no, don't forget about it. Well, I mean, as long as it keeps gaining interest, I guess it's fine, right? But I want to start this discussion of savings because I think a lot of people, because interest rates on savings accounts have been so low, they've kind of walked away from the idea of having a savings account. In fact, a very close friend of mine was telling me that his wife, her whole entire life, was an extraordinary saver. I mean, tens and tens of thousands of dollars saved throughout her whole entire life, lived very, very frugally, and then had some mishap with a bank or something like that. They charged her like a $35 fee and it wiped out all the interest over the last 10 years. It's just, just absolutely terrible. So now that these like high yield, so I think because of like that sort of thing, people are, they're not apt to save anymore. They're not apt to set money aside in the account because there's the return on investment was so low, so minimal, it didn't make sense. But now there's an opportunity to actually get that money. And like I said, I've been absolutely mind blown at the interest coming into my account right now. It's crazy. So I don't normally promote websites on the show, and I very rarely would ever promote a government website. But if you go to investor.gov, so it is a government site, they have a nice little interest calculator there where you could plug in the details of your savings account. If you want to look at various savings accounts online, plug in the details, think about this idea. Don't give the government an extra $250 a month. Put it in a savings account. And then at the end of the year, if you need to spend that money, go ahead. But if you can save it and hold on to it and continue to save and continue to get that interest, that's like a really good thing. That's why I've been doing it. It feels really good too. It feels good to see that you've got money set aside, that you're getting a return on that investment. And that, you know, that's something that that's a big deal. Now,
you may want to talk to your tax professional too quickly about just adjusting, your withholding so that you so you don't end up owing a ton of money either.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But even if you did owe the money, let me tell you guys this one secret, and I'll expand on this on Monday. I have a portion of my paycheck direct deposited into that savings account. It doesn't even hit my regular checking account. So if I owe, that money still says I do not touch that money. If I owe, it's there, but I still gained interest on it all year round. And that's something that if you become good at saving and you're good with your money, you can actually get yourself to the point where you set aside that money, and if you owe, I am absolutely going to owe this year. 100% I am going to owe this year. And the money will be there to pay it, and I will have gained interest on it. And I would encourage you guys to end up in the same boat. So we're going to talk more about that on Monday. We'll also maybe talk about the fair tax. We'll see if I can do some research on that. And I will join you guys Monday at 1 p.m. Thank you so much.
Patrick presents up to 10 grand off a new 8